Siddharth Hiroi is here, production designer. Can I see somewhere?
Yeah,
Please come here.
Sagar Desai, our music director.
Yes.
Hani Trehan,
Honey is there. Honey,
our producer.
please come here. Honey.
Ranvir sir.
Ranveer's here.
Oh, Ranvir is here.
Disha, my co-writer. Disha Rindani.
Disha, please come this side. Anyone else sitting here whom we don't know in the cast and crew? Anyone's there? Konkona? No, everyone is there.
No, I think everyone's here, right?
Oh, yeah. So that's the cast and crew of the film. I mean, we're going to do a Q&A, 40 minutes or 45 minutes we have. So we'll start with a few questions, then we'll throw the house open. You can raise your hands and we'll go.
Can I start immediately? I know the director a bit. I've known her since she was 4 years old. Great film, unbelievable. I had no clue you could do this. I knew her since she was like 5 years old, so I can't believe she's actually done that. That's all I
So I'll start with, Koechlin, are you exhausted, making a film and then getting it released, interviews, events, by the time it goes to the theatre, it's a big deal, and then getting appreciated. So are you exhausted, or is it a different high you are ready to go again? What's the mind space you are in?
I think I'm definitely exhausted. I think all of us are exhausted. I'm a bit of a zombie.
So, but what's the next step? Do you go back to acting, or do you think direction happened just like that? How did it happen? Or, I mean, it's a calculated move, or?
No, not at all. So I didn't want to go into direction at all. I didn't want to go into acting at all either.
Right.
But luckily that happened, and I'm grateful for it. But I didn't plan to direct a film, but it's just that there was a time recently when these stories were just coming back to me again and again, and they were all connecting and becoming, much larger than I thought, and eventually, then there was a long journey of developing that.
Right. And we know that the story is based on real life. Your dad wrote that, but was it written that time, or you discovered now? Why did you go back to this story? A lot of times when it's the first film, you're thinking, what should I make? And you come from a family where grandfather, father, mother, there's a lot of talent. So there was immense pressure also. People will be comparing, okay, Apana Sen's daughter, what has she done? So what was the reason that, okay, let's make this as a first film? Or it was just emotionally you were going back there?
I think basically emotionally I was going back. This was at a time when I was not doing as much work, and a few years ago, and I think our house in Bombay was being renovated, so I was staying with my dad in Delhi. And these are stories which I've always heard from my childhood, because my parents had a home in Gunj. My grandparents lived there for some time. So in the late 70s and the early 80s, we used to go there a lot.
Right.
So
the story stayed, and then
so
you
there
read
were many
the
stories from there. And this is our costume designer, Rohit Chaturvedi. So there were many stories of that time, family anecdotes and things like that, and bizarre, funny stories. And because the place was so remote and isolated, there were also it lends itself to that atmosphere. There were some slightly chilling stories or spooky stories.
Right.
And my dad had written a story based on one of these stories, which I never actually read until, we were ready to make the film almost, or during the time of writing, because I'd heard him tell me the story many times. Like since the time I was 7 or 8, he would tell me these stories again and again.
Right, and most of the times, the authors or those novelists, they're very possessive about what they write, and they're not sure how it will translate on screen. Was that ever an issue with your dad, or did he see the film and he said, okay, no, you go ahead and you do your job? Or he said you did it better?
No, we were just, it happened very easily because we were just talking about it so much and thinking if this could happen, if that could happen. And then I was thinking, it should be like this or like that. And it's not like I thought it will become a film.
Right.
I mean, it could have become I don't know what it would have become, a story.
Right.
But it was just that I was playing around with these characters and trying to find something very vaguely. And then my dad and I were talking about it, and eventually when I had some kind of a structure, this week-long structure, this beginning and ending being the same, and I knew which characters were going to be there in the story. So then at that time I told my dad, I said, you have to let me make this into a film. And he said, yeah.
So that short story doesn't have the same structure, is it?
It doesn't have the same structure, no. It doesn't have the same structure, and he published it back in the day in the Saturday Times. It came out.
Right.
So I don't think it's actually part of a collection,
right,
unfortunately.
Okay. So you're the privileged one who have read it. It's not out otherwise.
Few people have read it.
Okay.
And I have to say that my dad and some family members also eventually started getting confused because the lines were so blurred between memory and fact and fiction.
Right. Okay. We'll go back to the producer. We know that that's Honey is Chaubey. No, Honey is there. Honey is going to make his film also, and Chaubey already has a film in pipeline. So Honey is, you guys floated this production house, you guys made this film. Is it one-off thing, or are you guys going to do, what's next? You know, first film is always like a CV. So what's next? Are you guys going to make more films? Are you guys looking for scripts? Because I'm sure there are a lot of directors and writers. Or are you guys going to concentrate on your films and then as and when it happens?
Yeah, after Coco's film, me and Abhishek, we both are concentrating on our own films.
Right.
Once that will get over, then there is another project which we are planning to produce.
So are you going to produce films like these which are so different and yet so great, or you will also fall prey to the...
That I don't know, I haven't thought about that, but the thing is, like, I was practically very bored with doing casting and working for other people, and Coco gave us a break as a producer. Why don't you produce my film? So we were like, okay, there's a new thing, let's discover this.
सुन लिया भाई दे दे एक और break.
You guys can raise your hands.
Yeah, I have a question for Konkona. So the first 5 minutes of the film it started with the shots of the trunk, followed by 2 men in the car, followed by 2 men in the front and 1 in the back.
Lights
and
are
there was the
here.
name Bonnie. It seemed like a tribute to Pulp Fiction and Tarantino. Were you influenced by the style, or am I just
Bonnie was also there in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
That I didn't remember. No, I love the film, and who knows, maybe it's influenced me in some ways. Many people have said
Lighting,
it hadn't occurred to me before.
It's not consciously.
No, it's not conscious.
A
Yeah.
lot of times the shot taking happens like that. It's
And the
strange.
Bonnie thing, though, I didn't remember it.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question for Vikrant actually. So I have seen your work in past and this was totally different. And I really want to understand your character, like what took you to actually do that. Like it was, I have to compliment, it was amazing, well done. So yeah.
Honestly, I was not in a position to choose this script. The script came to me. And it happened when Coco and I were working for another film, Lipstick Under My Burqa. And she was already in the pre-planning stage at that point in time. So I believe she had a chat with the director, or maybe she actually had me in her mind and she discussed me with her. And she sort of reiterated a belief, and that's how I got the film. I hadn't read the script actually when I got the film, because when I got to know that she wants to direct a film written by her, and when she offered me the protagonist of the story, there were no two ways about it. I had to take it up.
And how difficult was it to actually get in the character and just be there? Like I just want to know experience, like how you felt about it.
While I was at it, not that I can recall a lot, because yes, a lot of it did resonate with my growing up time and everything. But it was very clear, because she had written the script quite a while ago, and when we went on floor, so she had ample amount of time, so she had written it so well. The structure of the script was almost ready, and we had some great people, coming in with the project, and so we conducted workshops. We read a lot. So, and the main thing which I realized while we were at it, while shooting, was a lot of Shutu is Konkona. So, as much as the workshops helped, her just reading out the scenes to me made it all the more easier. So, it's an amalgamation of everything actually.
For Gulshan, Kalki and Ranvir, you guys know Kalki, you guys know Konkona very well. So is it easy for a friendly director with his friend, or is it difficult that you have to listen to, okay, those say, I can't say much. How is it?
I didn't know her that very well. I must say that I got to know her better whilst working with her. And I thought it was very easy to work with her. I understood what she was saying. I think she understood what I was saying. And that was that. It becomes really... Yeah. So now I think I do consider her as like one of my friends, and I can say safely. I don't know. I sent you a Facebook request also. So.
I've accepted it.
And she accepted it, so she's
Our
my
editor
friend
is
now.
here, Manas Mitra.
But,
So he's cut me short. So.
Also, you guys knew that Vikrant is going to walk away with the maximum, praise.
Yeah.
Was that ever a concern? Because actors are
I
generally
used
very
to meet him
insecure
up. He
from
was in my next room, so I used to every day go and meet him up, give him a kambal parade.
So मार तो दिया
बहुत
ही
मार
है,
दिया।
yeah. No, how do you see as in co-actors?
I used to tell तेरा कुछ नहीं होने वाला है, फिल्म फ्लॉप हो जाएगी, तेरे को कोई काम नहीं देगा.
Yeah, we were all very mean to Vikrant.
Nothing.
I wanted to know because the kind of story this is, while writing the screenplay, so I can see as a writer, multiple possibilities when you start the screenplay. It could have been an evolving thriller, it could have been a psychological thriller or a plain thriller, But still, at the end of the day, you chose it to be, the repressed, suppressed things of, human elements, human stories evolving, and then the suppressed, repressed things then coming out in the climax. So, what made you, pick and choose this one? What various possibilities as a writer that must have.
I think I'll let my co-writer Disha take that.
Well, as far as I remember, when I came in, she already had a very clear picture in her head that this is where it starts and this is where it ends. Yeah, slowly we just kind of boiled it down to a few elements, and that's how we kind of led to this.
And for production design and music, it's not a place that a lot of people know. What are the references for you there? That period in that kind of place.
So a lot of it was old photographs, talking to people. And unfortunately, as things stand in this country, there's hardly any archives of that time. You can't find what a toothpaste tube looked like at that time. You're looking for reference for, say, forehands tube. There's no reference for it.
Right.
So we had to dig up a lot of things, stories, photographs from different people.
Those little things are there, like the savings book is in one shot, but it's still there. You can see that, I've seen those kind of things earlier, but it doesn't exist
And the
anymore.
Charminar packet didn't look original. The cigarette packet, I could recognize it, but that's fine.
But it was for reference.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. But I could say, hey, that's not the real thing.
But there's 3 iterations to the Charminar packet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But it was a lot of research and talking to people and literally like knocking on people's doors. And there was an army background as well.
Yeah.
So we spoke to a lot of people from the army and what the houses were like, and they were retired as well. So a lot of these factors came in to set that world up. And I think the best thing we did was shooting the plastic Gunj. Yeah.
And aside from music, it's so non-intrusive, still so powerful. That's always difficult to achieve, without overpowering the story. So what was your, to go about it? What was your?
Well, we actually composed most of the score elements based on script. So, and then it was a matter of placing it on the visuals. But honestly, I have to say, as far as researching the time and the place, the exercise I went through and the thought process I went through for that, it didn't help me much. What really worked is just the emotional and the emotional value of what we were hearing and how it applied to the character. And I think just the simplicity of it made it fit into that scene. It's a very minimal kind of arrangements.
Yeah.
So that's what was making it fit into the environment, nothing that had to do with the time and place.
Okay, next question.
Absolutely beautiful film. Sarbh, I just want to know that are the original songs, they're 2 folk songs?
Correct. There's 3 numbers. Two of them are traditional, right?
Tooth Gache Bhoot Nache is, I think, Nagpuri, and Rayo Rayo, I think, is Oraoni.
And the
Chota Nagpuri. Yeah.
Those are also you remember from your childhood days, or is it you?
It's so funny you asked, because Tooth Gache Bhoot Nache, I've been hearing since I was 7 years old. Because there's so many funny stories around it. My dad tells these funny stories and he used to say Tooth Gache Bhoot Nache. So I've heard it since my childhood. I've gone back there for a location recce, and they brought this lovely troupe and who performed some songs for us and things, and I think Rayo Rayo was one of the songs that they performed, and they had a beautiful little dance they did with it, and I just, out of the blue I thought, let me check, and I said, by any chance, the song Tooth Gache Bhoot Nache? And she said yes. Yeah. And we recorded it immediately.
And Tooth Tree is very common in Jharkhand, one of the most holy grown trees.
Right.
Yeah.
Konkona and Vijay, I think the story speaks for itself when once people draw their own conclusions. But there are some very deliberate themes, be it gender or the taboo of social or mental health. How did these weigh on your mind while etching and defining the characters? What was that process like?
I think that I really brought out for me when I was for me it was just trying to make Shutu as authentic as possible and as real as possible, how he felt real to me, and drawing on my own experiences a lot. Because I felt like that as a kid. I've known other people like that as well. So I was trying to remain true to that experience of mine. What do you think?
So I'm 23 and the character in the film is about the same age. And I just had to transport myself to 79 when I wasn't even an idea, and I just imagined myself being cut off from social media, from a parent, from parents, and going on to this holiday where I'm hiding a secret, failure. And there are things that somewhere down the line started, like while I was writing it, I felt the baggage of it myself, and I felt somewhere that all of us, even though this happened in the 70s, somewhere today kids our age are still experiencing that. And it just happened so that that film addresses that issue in a smaller way. Like it's the family, but here we're open up to this larger world. Not only for Shutu, I felt that he was the center of the film. The rest of the cast, they were so well-rounded. The characters were so true to themselves, and the dynamics between them were really interesting to see how they came across.
Yeah. She was asking me about the songs in the film.
Right.
So the two are traditional ones, but the third one she sings in the living room. That's an original composition of mine, and we wrote lyrics, and so I just wanted to say.
Vikrant wants to answer your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing. There is an idea which we believe in, and we've seen a lot of campaigns lately on social media because of social media कि लड़के ऐसे होने चाहिए, लड़कियाँ ऐसे होती हैं, लड़के लड़कियों की तरह नहीं होते. But whereas I personally think, मतलब मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म होता है लड़कियों का, वो अपने फादर पे जाता है, और जो लड़कों का होता है डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म वो लड़कियों पे जाता है, अपनी मदर्स पे जाता है. तो कहीं ना कहीं लाइक व्हेन आई वाज आल्सो प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर द स्क्रिप्ट, तो मुझे ऐसा लग रहा था कि एक जो एफेमिनेट नेचर होता है, जिसको हम एफेमिनेट और फेमिनिन कहते हैं, वो वैसा ज़रूरी नहीं है. यू नो, बॉयज़ आर क्लोजर टू देयर मदर्स, daughters are closer to the fathers, but defense mechanism जो होता है उनका, वो opposite sex पे ही रहता है मेरे हिसाब से, वो मैंने देखा है. तो we've sort of tried to inculcate that also in this thing. So I hope that sort of, gender की जो आप बात कर रहे थे, sort of clears it out. I hope it does.
Disha, what was the writing process, if you can elaborate on that, how you guys went about it?
So, I know Konkona because of a mutual friend of ours, Joydeep, and initially when I met her, she knew pretty much what she wanted to write, but we needed to flesh it out into a screenplay with final draft, and that's where I particularly fit in. Like I had to come in as someone who could, hear her out, reason her doubts, maybe give her some ideas, and I was essentially an assistant. And then slowly she really created this space where I could also, give her my ideas as to, how she was proceeding with. So it was it was day 1, day 2, day 3. We had like these post-its on the wall with how each day in the Gunj went by. And we just imagined what our family holidays were like. Mine being like a few years ago, hers being say maybe 10-15 years ago. But so I think it was a 1 month long process in the beginning. And every day 9 a.m. to 1 we'd be writing before Harun, her son, came back home. But there was this discipline that it's all thanks to Konkona. There's this bullheadedness that she just goes at the script every day. She sat down, she wanted to write something, good or bad, we'd come back to it later. But within I think a month or 2 we had a draft ready.
So also the script was in one of the labs, and if this is lab, did it really help? How did it work out
It
for the
really
lab?
helped. Because we had...
People always wonder to go or not to go.
No, I think it depends, because I was very lucky because Martin Rabarts was very good, and I think he's left the NMDC lab since, but they have other good people as well. Martin was amazing because I think he got the script and we got along really well, and he was very helpful and he was very clear. Like there were several other characters and scenes and things like that, and he was just like, it's not necessary, and really pared it down, helped me to pare it down.
Right. So in terms of writing, in terms of direction, did it help anything, or was it in the writer's lab, not the director?
It was the writer's lab.
Konkona, were you tempted to act in this film at any moment?
No, not at all. My
So many
actors might
characters.
disagree, but not at all.
If at all you had to, then which was the character you would have?
Shutu!
She is Shutu. A part of Shutu is her.
Was Shutu's character ever a female?
No, he was never a female. No, but it was always meant to be about, it turned out while writing, I realized that also to be about masculinity. And just that, not just about masculinity, but also about people who we overlook. Always. And people who are not saying, look at me, I have a problem.
There's a question there from someone.
It's a privilege to speak to Konkona. Very nice film. Many congrats. Actually, I wanted to ask about the music apart from the 3 folk songs. The Western music, rest of the background score, I think it's more of Western and European kind of flavor. I think you had that in mind. So can you just talk about it, like whether you wanted it like that or like Assamese or Bihari kind of? Why did you choose that kind of?
Not the songs, you're just talking about the background music,
background
right?
score, the music score.
Yeah, no, so I think we had some...
Could you repeat the question?
she asked about the background score and that it was a little Western.
Yeah.
The choice of instruments for that.
Yeah.
And do you want to
Style.
answer?
Yeah, if Sagar can also speak about it.
I'd love to hear what you have to say.
So I had some ideas about, as we haven't heard enough. So I had this Picnic at Hanging Rock in my mind, which had this very haunting kind of a flute, music, and I really liked it, and I thought it was very evocative of a certain atmosphere and a certain time. And then we spoke a lot about the mood and what we wanted, the mood to be like. And I think there were places where it was a little Indian also, in an unusual kind of a way.
See, what I do quite often is I use Indian ragas to help me formulate harmony, and so even though it might sound very Western to you, if I play this music for a pure Western person, they might say it sounds a little bit Indian. So. And of course, we didn't want it to go so far into the Indian space because it just didn't suit. It just didn't feel right. And like I was saying, sometimes research.
Also, McCluskey Gunj and the whole Anglo-Indian community.
Yeah, there was an Anglo-Indian. And sometimes research and thought and logic doesn't work.
Rohit, for the costumes, was it similar like production design? Was it mostly personal photographs? What was the challenge for you?
The biggest challenge was getting the film because I don't know if Coco had me in mind to do the costumes. So I actually messaged and I said, I want to work on this film, and why don't you just let me put together something for you and pitch for the film.
Right.
So she said, fine, come home, take the script, and she was sweet enough to give me the script. And then I put together these collages or mood boards for McCluskey Gunj and the era and the setting, and yeah, so that's how it started. And then we started talking, and the biggest thing with costumes is because these characters are so real, and the minute you take them into a retro space, they kind of become caricaturish at times. So we had to kind of strike a balance between keeping the period correct and not crossing that boundary of or that line of making them caricaturish, which is what usually happens with retro stuff. So that was difficult, and again, we had to talk to a lot of people, and we were kids, or I was not even born in '79 or whatever. So yeah, it was difficult. But it was a lot of fun.
Kalki, you have played a lot of strong female characters, and this one also was it. How difficult was it for you for 1979 or somebody who goes from down to McCluskey? Have you been to there before? No.
I had never been to 1979 or to but it's it's one of those things where it's a kind of project which is all about working together from the start. We did a workshop with Atul Mongia, then Coco recorded every line for me, you know, and how she wanted it because it had that, you know, the character was from Cal. Plus I got to use my French. I think there was a lot of restraint which came from the costumes actually, because everything was very tight and proper. So I ended up being like that. Very different from how I normally am, which is kind of floppy. Again, the character was, you know, Mimi was somebody who kind of plans things, who puts herself together very carefully, who manipulates. So that took some concentration from me, but I had good guides, so which is good.
Konkona, if I'm not wrong, you're a very spontaneous actor, right? You don't believe in what you call the method acting school, too much preparation, how to go about it, go into the mind of the. I mean, whatever I've seen, you can perform in a switch on and off the way you perform. Is it wrong or right?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think a certain amount of preparation is required.
Right. So when you're directing the actors, how did you go about it? Was it the way you see yourself as an actor, or was it how? I mean, if you can elaborate on that.
It's probably best to ask them.
Right.
But I had.
From Ranvir, we haven't heard from him. So, yeah.
Oh, what's the question?
In terms of directing the actors, what was the approach for you guys? All of your friends, and it's a big ensemble. All of you guys are terrific actors. So what was the approach to getting the performances?
What was her approach?
Yeah, and your approach. I mean, from the actor's side and from her side.
Well, my approach is pretty much the same when I do any work. There is a certain amount of preparation required for each part, and differs from how much preparation differs from project to project. In this case, I was in a privileged position because I saw the whole thing evolve, so I was privy to a lot of information about the character as it was developing, backstories, and the flesh and blood of it. So I already had access to that while the script was being developed, so it made things easier. And Konkona, I think it's better to ask her about her process for directing. But I will just say that she's also to kind of refer to a lot of the questions that went around before this. I think because this is her first work, I think the canvas she works on is human values. There are a lot of questions about gender, about plot, and I think one of the writer friends here asked about why she didn't slip into a thriller and stuff like that. So I think the canvas she's working on is human, and luckily that kind of shows up in the way she directs also. I can only imagine that's how she acts also, because we all know she's such a fabulous actress. So the way she directs, I think, also reflects that, because she's sympathetic with the actors, because she has been an actor, I don't know.
The sense of empathy comes around.
Yeah. So she's very nice, but otherwise there is this the whole Rudro Roop is also there. Fortunately for us, we didn't see much of it. She kept it in check, I think.
And you got to pick your character as well? Because
no, not at all actually. I was always supposed to play the dick. And
I wanted to play that dick.
Yeah.
That he played.
So was there ever like a temptation, like making speak? I know that it works for the film because there are so many things. So was there ever a temptation like he expresses?
I did wonder about having a voiceover. We thought many times about, should there be a voiceover or, letters or monologue or whatever should use voice. But I mean, somehow instinctively, I think this was as far as I was comfortable going. I mean, you guys are also projecting all of your own selves on Shutu, and you're meant to, because you're, in the sense that he's somebody who ideally you should feel protective towards or identify with or want to, look after in a sense. So I wanted to create that situation in how I felt that was right. And I think that other people also project onto that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask you this, I would like to select, Shutu's character, it's about, he's trying a lot, he's trying to get to the things. And what, the scene when he gets...
Keep the question short, we don't have much time.
When he gets into the gadda, right? He said, "Aap to gadde mein phase hue."
Yeah.
Then, then he enters that dining area. somehow there's always this there's a thing कि वो कुछ कर रही है वो कुछ कर रहा है Kalki doing something. They are doing something and something. Everybody are in their own khattas.
Yeah.
Right? So are you trying to explore Shutu in them and them in Shutu?
Wow, that's quite a complex question.
Because for me the climax ended over there because he was shooting, that was just a formality for me because I got my climax for it.
Yeah, because everything had pretty much
sense.
happened.
Oh, now the film makes sense to me.
Okay, that's great. Because that's like towards the end of the movie anyway.
Quickly take last 3 questions. 1, 2, here somebody else. No, 3.
Yeah,
go ahead, quickly, short.
Question is just a
I have
short
a question
point
for
that
Kalki later.
the biggest takeaway I'm taking away from this film is the fact that it was delightful to see Puri Sarbh back on screen.
Yes.
Where he deserved from the world that he contributed so much to. And I love the fact that this is such a beautiful platform to consider possibly the last time we're going to see him on screen. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
How did you come to visualize the look and feel of the film in terms of the colors, the tones and the textures you used? Was it something to do with an era which you're showing, or it was something you had visualized from before, the characters?
Well, to a certain extent, just the fact that it was, Gunj in winter, that itself, I think, dictates several other choices. But then we also, I think Shisho and Siddharth, Rohit, just in terms of how the film was going to look, we sat and we planned like materials and colors and what scene was supposed to go where. There was a system of, slotting scenes. As per what you're trying to get out of them and trying to form some kind of a pattern, and talking to Shisho, the cinematographer, as well about what kinds of colors and how we wanted to look. And Shisho in fact wasn't always very communicative, but he often used to draw, and that was really nice. So that's partly how I think we looked at a lot of pictures together. We saw some films together. If there's anything else you want to add?
Just the fact that the mood dictated the way the film looked.
Yeah. Because it really looks beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It's just literally the mood of the film, the narrative kind of spoke in terms of...
And Shisho is just amazing.
Yeah.
Okay,
sadly he's not here today.
There's a question here, sorry.
Ma'am, why this particular 1979? I mean, did the thought ever cross your mind to set it in the present time? Because as Disha said that it's relevant in the present time as well.
It could have been 82, but I just think that 79 is a more romantic year. It seems like the end of an era. We all love the 70s. It was the end of a way of life.
Sorry.
So yeah, it was always going to be 79.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And it enables so many things in the film accordingly.
A question for Kalki. You were acting as a foreigner, I'm not sure, but I heard you speak in French a little bit. I know a bit myself, but were you playing an Anglo-Indian or a French? I have a feeling you're very Bambaya. By now, but what were you playing exactly? I didn't get it very well.
We decided to make Mimi half French and half Bengali.
Yeah.
So that, because, the fact that I spoke French, she was like, I think it'll be nice. It's a sexy language and Mimi is sexy. So that was where the French came from.
And the Bengalis like French people a lot, I believe.
I believe.
No, sometimes Bengalis marry French people. Sometimes like uncle is non-Bengali, auntie is Bengali. Sometimes we marry outside our communities.
The only name that French people know in Indian cinema is Satyajit Ray. So, yeah, they're obsessed with Satyajit. So anyway, so they came from there.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have to wrap it here.
Thank you so much.
One thing I didn't like about the film, good to say. Yeah. And that is that I wasn't there. That's all. I'm kidding. Thank you. Love you. Love tomorrow.